My best friend appeared online. He's been gone for 10 years. We used to play everything together, whether it be Minecraft, Black Ops 2, or Halo 3. We always had a blast. We met in middle school, and we were both considered the misfits of our grade. We easily got along, and we bonded over video games heavily. Soon, we added each other on Xbox, and the rest was history. A few years went by, and it was 2013. That summer, I got the call. He passed away. I stopped playing video games after that for a while. It reminded me too much of him. The reason I am telling you all this is because a week ago I got an Xbox One. I got it for my 25th birthday, and I was excited. For 2 days, everything was great, and then something would happen that would haunt me forever. My best friend Ian was online. Now he had 2 brothers, so at first I thought it was one of them. But it looked exactly like Ian's account. Nothing was changed. I kept in touch with one of his brothers, so I texted him. He was very confused. He then proceeded to tell me no one had access to Ian's account. After that, I got a bit angry, so I messaged the account. Me: how did you get access to this account? Nothing. Me: I hope it was worth it, hacking into this account. I got a response before I could send the message. I decided after that to record everything in a text document, and it would be easier to just show you what I wrote at the time. Day 1. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? How did they know my name? My name is not public on Xbox, and they knew about my dad's passing. I texted Ian's brother to let him know what I'd just experienced, and he was a bit disturbed as well. He said he was going to try to find the account information and delete it. Ian's account went offline, and I will record anything here if I hear anything. Day 2. Ian's brother, Casey, texted me this morning. He told me he was unable to find the account information. I kept on getting messages all day from Ian's account. Call me crazy, but I was starting to believe somehow, some way, it was him. He knew things only me and him would know. Day 3. He joined my Minecraft game. It was a single-player game. How is that even remotely possible? He just would follow me around and stare. He was always there. It creeped me out. I eventually switched my game to Black Ops 2 and was playing zombies. He joined again, and it was the same. He kept on staring, and then he was gone. Day 4. I'm starting to believe it is definitely not Ian. Something is posing as him. I got another message. He told me I should come with him. He then invited me to a party chat. When I joined, a loud, high-pitched ringing started playing, and I threw my headphones across the room. Then, a voice started speaking through. It sounded like Ian, but something was off. I got freaked out again and turned off my Xbox. I got a text from an unknown number, and it said he just wants me to come with him. Day 5. I removed him as a friend. It wasn't Ian. I had to remind myself of that. Somehow, it didn't stop. I'm still getting party invites and messages. It's getting aggressive. I'm thinking about selling my Xbox. I can't handle it. Day 6. I don't feel safe. Something is watching me. It knows I know it's not Ian. Last night, after I got off of my Xbox, I found a note on my bedroom door. It said, "It will take me with it." My blood ran cold. I almost passed out. Today, I sold my Xbox. I decided it was too much to deal with. Today, I saw something walk down into my basement. I'm scared shitless. I saw something when I was a kid. When I was in elementary school, I lived in a house that creeped me out from day one. I never felt comfortable there. I always felt like I was being watched. I refused to even sleep in my own room because my room gave me extreme bad vibes. I cannot explain why I felt so uncomfortable in that house so immediately, but the vibes were completely off. My animals also reacted poorly to the house. My dogs would bark and growl at nothing, and would stand over me at night as if they were protecting me from something. Sometimes I'd hear weird things and the dogs would also react, so I knew it wasn't just me. When I was around 9, I was sitting in the living room on the floor and playing with some toys while I watched TV. My grandma was passed out in the chair near me. I heard something, thought it was my dog, and turned to look at the hallway. I saw a tall, black shadow figure move from the hallway across the living room, right in front of me, and through the side door to the side patio. I was extremely freaked out and I ran off to go look for my dogs for comfort. They were in the backyard, so the sound couldn't have been them, and nobody else was in the house. I often slept in the guest room. For some reason it felt safer than my own room did. The window in the guest room overlooked the side patio that the shadow figure went through the door to. Almost every night, without fail, my dogs would bark and growl at that window and stand over me or lay directly on me, as if they were protecting me from something. After this incident, I didn't feel truly safe anywhere I slept. I would be up most of the night, too creeped out to fall entirely asleep. Other things happened in this house too, but that was most notable for me as it was the first time I saw something unexplainable. I was not asleep. I've never had sleep paralysis. I do not have schizophrenia. What I saw completely changed how I view the world. I've had a lot of unexplainable experiences since then, but this one shaped my beliefs in a major way. Has anyone else seen shadow people or shadow figures? 2 brief accounts of paranormal incidents that I experienced in my childhood home. When I was 11 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night and heard something repeatedly running up and down the hallway. My mother was the only other person in the house, and I know for a fact that she was asleep at the time. The sound that I heard didn't sound like adult footsteps. They sounded more lightweight and rapid, like that of a scrambling toddler. And no, there were no pets in the household. My bedroom was at the dead end of the hallway, and these scampering footsteps would repeatedly run from one end of the hall to the other. But every time they reached the end where my bedroom was situated, there would be a momentary pause in front of my door before resuming. This exact same cycle repeated for about 5 minutes, and then it just abruptly ceased. I sat upright in my bed, petrified with fear the entire time this was happening, and was much too afraid to open the door during or after. I still have no idea what was making that sound, but I got a distinct feeling that whatever it was seemed to be aware that I was aware of its presence. Don't ask me how I know that. It's just one of those things that you can feel, but you can't rationally explain. The second incident occurred a few years later when I went down to the basement workshop to retrieve some tools. As I was standing in front of the pegboard selecting what I required, a female voice aggressively growled directly into my left ear. I immediately went into an adrenaline-fueled panic and dropped everything I had in my hands before sprinting out of the workshop and up the stairs like a frightened cat. Even remembering that now makes me feel an icy chill throughout my entire body like I did when it happened. That incident was far more traumatic than the previous one. I live in a city in northwestern Canada that is somewhat remote, and the neighborhood I grew up in is situated on land that was once an indigenous village inhabited by the Hiddle-T-Ena people. Their entire village was burned to the ground in 1913 by British colonizers who wanted to permanently drive them out of the area so they could annex the land. Make of that what you will. I don't know if it's connected in any way, but I thought that it might be worthwhile to mention it. Has anyone else ever experienced anything like either of these incidents? The creepy guy I dated is a murderer. As a teenager, I waited tables in a local restaurant to pay for the gas for my car. I met Mr. Creep there. In my naive mind, he seemed normal at first, despite the fact that he was 20 and wanting to date a 17-year-old. Leaving my job after dark scared me, so I taught myself to get in my car, shut the door, and lock it in one fluid motion. It made me feel safe. One night, I was leaving work and had just gotten into my car when Mr. Creep seemed to just appear out of nowhere, yanking my door handle to try to open it. I looked into his eyes in the split second before he smiled, and what I saw absolutely chilled my bones. I don't know how to describe the evil I saw. From then on, I was terrified of him, but I didn't let on because I was afraid of what he might do if I told him I never wanted to see him again. After this, he constantly lied to try to impress me and tried to invent ways of being alone with me, but my instinct was to run, so I avoided him. About 2 weeks after this incident, the restaurant got robbed, and there was significant evidence against Mr. Creep, just not the kind that allowed the cops to charge him. I sent all of my text conversations with Mr. Creep to the police chief in hopes it would help. Mr. Creep slithered away after that, but I always looked over my shoulder. About 5 years ago, he messaged me on Facebook out of the blue. He went on about his top secret military clearance as well as a huge acreage he owned. It made me nervous, and I felt like he was trying to spring a trap or something, but I tried to put it out of my mind. Then, today, I was looking at posts about unsolved murders when I saw his mugshot. He is now facing murder charges as well as 2 other violent felony charges. I'm so glad to know he's locked up, but so overwhelmed about how correct my instincts about Mr. Creep were. I feel like I escaped him. Thanks for reading. My student is going crazy and I don't know what's happening. I am a maths teacher in an all-girls school within a pretty dangerous area. I have many classes, but one class always stood out to me because of this one student. For privacy reasons, I'm going to call her Alia. Alia has always been a special child. She was always murmuring to herself and always stared at the corner of the classroom like there was something there. One day I was teaching and Alia wasn't doing her work, so I asked, Alia, why aren't you doing your work? Do you need help? Her response sent shivers down my spine. Can you see him too? She said while staring at the usual spot. I didn't know what to say. It was impossible to be an imaginary friend because Alia was too old for that. She was about 15 or 16, so I ignored her and asked her again and received the same response. The bell rang and I just let her go, not knowing what to do because if I told anyone, they would probably just brush it off or call her weird. I was teaching and the whole class was quiet, but then a banging. I looked to where the noise was coming from and Alia was banging her head on the desk. I immediately called for help on my radio and with a student's help we tried to stop Alia, but she wouldn't stop to the point where she had been banging her head so hard it was bleeding a lot. At a point she just started repeating, "Get away from me! Get away from me!" But no matter what we did, she didn't stop. I grabbed her by her hair to stop her, but she just looked at me with a horrifying stare and said, "Do you see him too?" School security came and took her to an ambulance, but I was still shocked at what had happened. Later, I found out that Alia was admitted to a mental hospital because she was hallucinating and seeing a man. She said he would tell her to hurt people or herself. She's supposed to come back to school in a month because apparently she's better. But I don't know what to do because I don't want her to be in another teacher's class, but I also don't want her in mine. Suspicious woman tried to drag me to her home. I loosely escaped. Hello. This is my first time posting about something like this on Reddit, so do forgive me if my formatting is wrong. I'm currently 18 female, but this situation happened in 2021. At the time, I was 16. It was afternoon around 3:30. I was returning home from my tuition classes. At the time, there was a high spread of COVID-19, so school was happening online. But I had no other options than to take the notes from my teacher as there was an important exam we had nearby. Normally, I wasn't allowed to go outside because my knowledge of roads and area were pretty poor, but my teacher's house was about 3 kilometers away and on the same route as our old apartment. So they let me. On the way there was a butcher stall, a popular, affordable and delicious snacks in our country, where I knew the shopkeeper since childhood. While I was walking home from my teacher's place after fetching the notes, I decided to snack on some of those butcher and have a chat with the kind shopkeeper. The roads were kind of empty at the time and most of the shops were closed. Only a few passers-by were here and there. As I was eating, I felt someone touch my hair suddenly from behind, which startled me. I had a ponytail. When I turned around, it was an old woman who looked homeless, probably in her 60s or early 70s, smiling at me. She asked me if I could buy her snacks. At the time, I kind of felt awkward and didn't know how to deny her, so I just said yes, sure, even though I didn't carry enough money. I just asked the kind shopkeeper to give her my part of the snack that was left. I didn't really mind this, but when I started to leave, she grabbed my right hand and said, "God bless you, child. If I would see my granddaughter, she would just be like you," and things like that. I was awkwardly smiling and nodding at the time because I was uncomfortable. I did try to pull my hands away from her grip politely, but she didn't budge. Then she started talking about how she raised her daughter and son and how her drunkard but rich husband used to beat both of them up and pretty much assault them, and how she kept silent about all of it because of the money, and that later on her children grew up, got jobs, and got married. But her husband got into gambling and lost all of his money, went into debt and died of liver failure. Now she was helpless. She went to her children, but they resented her because they were greedy, so they didn't help her as they were happily settled in their lives. She told me how she lost everything and shit for the next 2 hours. I did sympathize with her, but at the same time I had to return home because I was too late. The woman had a very eerie body language. She later on asked me about where I lived, and dumb me at the time told her about that. She asked my dad's name, so I told her, and she said she knew him and started saying things like how he was a nice man. It wasn't a surprise to me, as Dad is popular around our locality, as he's a helpful person who participates in charity work and things like that. So I don't know what came over me, but I asked her for a description of my dad, and she literally described the total opposite. She just described my physical characteristics, but the thing is, I look like my mother, and me and my dad don't even have similar body skin color or height, even though I have his smile and nose. I said okay, and tried to pull away my hands, but she didn't budge again. Again, mind you, she was holding it for 2 hours straight, and while we were talking, she was kind of walking me towards the starting of this dark lane by the road. She now kept on talking about how she wanted to take me to her home and feed me some sweets. That's when it clicked to me. She told me she had lost her everything. So how was she going to take me to her home, especially in that dark lane? I got so frightened, I told her I need to get back home or my parents would scold me, and actually started using a bit of force to free my wrist from her grip. That's when she literally started dragging me towards the lane and was like, "No, you fed me snacks. Now you have to take my return gift." I pulled my hand away from her grip with full force and straight up ran home. I was breaking out in cold sweats as I reached home, and understandably my parents were angry and confused as I reached home. They did understand what happened when I explained the whole situation to them. I was really scared at the time, but I truly feel guilty if she was a genuinely nice old woman. But it was her vibes mainly that was creepy.